y'all, welcome back to my channel. I am the Divine One, and I'm bringing you yet another assortment. Well. Those tables turn, the tables. Don't those tables turn? Look who's back at the table. Searching for allies, reaching for support, and let's be honest, grasping for black folks to save the day. I'm sorry to advise you, those capes are in the cleaners. Those capes are in the trash. I'm sorry, baby. Those capes have been burned, okay? They were burned just like you burn black people on election night. This is not that season anymore. To my new listeners, welcome. And to my OGs, you already know, no punches will be pulled, no hands will be held, no tissues will be issued, okay? Today, we'll be dissecting the blatant audacity of Palestinians, Arab, and Muslim groups who just weeks ago told black creators to stay out of Palestine's business and to keep the Palestinians' name out of your, oh, well, I can't curse just yet, okay? Keep Palestine out of your expletive mouth. But now, after the election, the dust has settled, y'all are circling back, y'all spinning the block, right? With apologies, saying, oh, black people, we didn't know what? Wasn't Kamala Harris a guaranteed win that Trump would come for everyone not fitting his version of what whiteness is and what whiteness should have? Let's talk about how this performative, short-sighted behavior keep costing you and why black people have finally clocked out of all of this unpaid labor. Let's be clear from the jump. This is not our lesson to learn. First, as per usual, we'll get us into some TikTok receipts real quick, and there will be commentary at the end. Okay, let's go.
Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
There appears to be a case of buyer's remorse among Dearborn residents who supported Donald Trump in this past election, specifically because of the fact that he went back on his promise to negotiate a ceasefire by November 6th in both Lebanon and Palestine. Frustration among community members is growing now that violence in the region is continuing to escalate, and in an open letter penned by the MENA American Chamber of Commerce to Trump on November 8th, they reminded him of his promise to these constituents. The letter very directly references Trump's commitment and urges him to follow through on this promise, asserting that many Arab Americans, especially in Dearborn, only voted for Trump because of his outreach to the community and his supposed stance on Middle East issues. Ceasefire discussions, however, have not changed course since the election, with a U.S.-backed proposal once again only proposing a temporary ceasefire deal for Lebanon. The current proposal calls for a 60-day truce following the UN Resolution 1701, which would force Hezbollah's disarmament south of the Litani River. Lebanese parliamentary speaker Nabi Berri has reaffirmed Lebanon's stance against compromising its sovereignty as these peace talks continue. However, the fact that he even has to reaffirm this information is concerning in and of itself. The withdrawal of Hezbollah soldiers leaves the south of Lebanon ripe for the taking for Israeli troops. So it's worth noting that if Trump does follow through on his promise to secure a ceasefire deal in Lebanon, this could be a particularly disadvantageous agreement that will further serve to disenfranchise the Lebanese people.
Ceasefire now! Justice! Now!
We are feeling a whole range of emotions as we process Trump's victory. Donald Trump is playing our communities, is playing American voters, is playing the Arab and Muslim community. And it is failed democratic leadership that is allowing him to do that. I mean, the folks who voted for Trump are not theoretical to me. The folks who voted for Trump are my cousins, my friends, people who were tasked with a very difficult task of carrying a lot of grief and trying to do a politically savvy thing at the same time.
Well, no surprise that Dearborn Heights, and city of Hamtramck voted all for President Trump. I think that there were a clear indication that this community was truly upset, angry at the Biden-Harris administration.
We're seeing with Hakabe, I mean, Hakabe Joy, and your intro is so important there. He's not just to call him an extremist is an insult to other extremists, right? He's so extreme, he makes Benjamin Netanyahu look moderate on Palestine. He makes George W. Bush look moderate on issues of war and peace. In 2008, Joy, Mike Huckabee criticized George Bush for setting a timetable for withdrawal from Iraq. He wanted to stay in Iraq for longer. He's a big Iraq war guy. And on Palestine, as you say, he calls himself an unreformed, unapologetic Zionist. He believes God gave the land only to the Jews. He's a religious fanatic. He refuses to admit that there's a Palestinian people. He says there's no occupation, no settlements, no West Bank, only Judea and Samaria. He wants one state, a Jewish state, no Palestinian state. It's a disaster in many ways. Obviously, the Palestinians are already living through a disaster in Gaza.
Yeah.
And then the West Bank, it's only going to get worse. Vice President Harris talks a lot about the threat from Donald Trump. A lot of people say that's not enough. We need something to vote for, not just vote against. When we spoke at the DNC, you said to our viewers then that if Harris loses in November, Democrats will, quote, have no one to blame but ourselves. Do you still believe that to be true?
Yes. When you are a candidate running for office, it is your job to convince as many voters as possible on why they should vote for you. And so if we do not do everything that is within our power, whether it is policy change, you saw Black men were upset, and we saw a policy proposal for Black men. Muslims are upset. We see no policy proposal. There are young progressives that are upset. There is no proposal. And so unless we contend with that, if the election does not go our way, we have to be reminded of these conversations and not point fingers at the people who have made a decision because they did not see anything at the table for them.
What needs to happen, do you think, practically speaking, not peace in the Middle East, but practically speaking, what needs to happen for most of those voters to come back in the Democratic fold? A ceasefire, what else?
So a lot of those voters, well, I can't say a number, but a significant chunk are probably lost.
They're gone.
I think they're lost.
Not to Trump. They'll go third
They'll
party.
go third party or stay home. Look, if you are somebody in Dearborn who's lost not 10, not 20, 30 members of your family in Gaza, you're going to show up to vote? Are you going to vote for Biden even if there's a ceasefire tomorrow? You can't expect that. But there is a significant chunk of people who do want this to be seen as an act of pressure. They don't want to vote for Trump. They're not pro-Trump. They just want to see the best version of Joe Biden and of America. They want a ceasefire. They want an end to the killings, not peace in the Middle East or a two-state solution or utopia, but a stop to the killings. Over 100 people a day, American weaponry, American money. They want to see that ceasefire. You're seeing Joe Biden promising a ceasefire is coming. I'm skeptical, but I think the White House realized that they have to do something here.
I want to start with the results out of Dearborn and what Donald Trump's win means for Arab American voters there and around Michigan. What's your biggest takeaway from that?
For many of the Arab Americans in Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, and Hamtramck, it was not so much a pro-Trump vote, but really an anti-Biden-Harris administration vote. We heard that anecdotally, and I think that that is borne out in the numbers too. But I think looking forward, we have to recognize that folks that Donald Trump has already announced to be in his inner circle, in his cabinet, folks like Elise Stefanik, Marco Rubio, they are staunchly in support of Israel. So I don't know if the folks will have buyer's remorse in those communities, but I think that these folks will shake it up a bit.
Palestine is racist towards black people. Let's talk about it. So after the video I put up on Friday, I got a bunch of comments that suggested that we as black people should stay out of the conflict because Palestinians are also racist. And in fact, they have a city called Al-Abid, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, which means slave. And it's meant for black people to stay in slum-like conditions there. So obviously I did my own research so that I could reach my own conclusions. I also found this really cool story about this Afro-Palestinian journalist here. Nisreen Salem, and she went through detail in terms of the persecution she's experienced both from Palestinian people and the IDF. Additionally, we should know that Palestine participated in the Arab slave trade and slavery was only abolished in the country in the early 20th century. However, despite all of this information, I am still very much pro-Palestine, even more so than ever before, and let me tell you why. If you care about Afro-Palestinians, Black people living in Palestine, then you would understand that they are going through a genocide by way of the Israeli government, and they are also experiencing discrimination from their Palestinian peers as well as Israelis as well. But in order for us to fight for their freedom from said discrimination, they need to be alive to see us fight for them. They need to survive the genocide. So if you care about Black people all over the world and you care about Afro-Palestinians, then there is absolutely no excuse for you not to be pro-Palestine in this conflict. If you are just using this as a reason to say that you should stay out or that Black people shouldn't get involved, then simply put, you don't care about other people who look like you who are not in your immediate vicinity. So no, I don't think that's a good enough reason or even a reason at all to not be pro-Palestine.
As Palestinian Americans, I know some of us have mixed feelings after this election, but one thing we should be extremely proud of ourselves about is that we came together. We achieved unity, and we forced the Republicans and the Democrats to speak to our liking. Hell, we gave the Green Party life. We changed the political climate not only in America, but in Israel. They don't even support Netanyahu. We changed the political climate all over the globe. We canceled billion-dollar corporations, and we did that because we achieved unity, power through unity. And it's our job to keep that momentum up. So take your feelings aside, keep that stride, keep that pride going. Victory is soon ahead, and we won't stop until Palestine and all oppressed peoples are free.
How bad is it going to get for Palestinians in 2025?
Well, I think it's going to continue to get worse. And that's not really going to be a function of who's in the White House. I think this administration, the Biden administration, has effectively ceded the driver's seat to Benjamin Netanyahu as it is. And I don't expect that to be that much different with Trump in power. Where I do think it'll be interesting is if Netanyahu being in the driver's seat brings the United States into direct confrontation with Iran in some significant way. That would actually go against some of the things that Trump said and talked about in his campaign. He's not beholden to anyone anymore because, at least as I understand it, he's not allowed to run again unless they go and change the laws, like many sort of...
Or ignore the laws.
Or ignore the laws, as many authoritarians around the world have done when they're told their time is up.
Child, the Arab, Muslims, and Palestinian group are out here looking real manic right now. Let's break it down, because the math just ain't mathing. Or is it meth? I don't know at this point. First, y'all tried to manipulate Black people, specifically Black women, with online bullying tactic, demanding we prioritize your movement. You went so hard, so loud, and so messy that in the end, you ended up alienating everyone else. And for what? Then let's not forget, you sabotaged the Democratic ticket in key states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania through your Uncommitted National Movement. Does that ring a bell? Because a lot of y'all seem to have amnesia. Yes, and I said sabotage. You didn't just stay neutral, you actively disrupted the strategy. And now, after all that chaos, y'all are crying and pleading with the Biden administration to do something. At this point, is it the crack? Because I need answers. The entitlement is wild, and we're not falling for it. Not this time. Let's talk about accountability, because y'all played yourself. Let's start with a little history, because this pattern of using Black people for your movement isn't new, it's systemic. Anti-Blackness in Arab and Muslim communities has roots in colonial hierarchies that glorified whiteness and dehumanized Blackness. These dynamics didn't stay overseas. They followed immigrants to America, where proximity to whiteness became a survival strategy. The economic exploitation of Black neighborhoods by Palestinian and other Arab-owned businesses is a prime example. You profit from Black dollars but reinvest nothing. You hire no one. Instead, you perpetuate anti-Black stereotypes claiming solidarity only when it suits you. Regarding your performative apologies and your misplaced outrage, you thought Black labor was guaranteed. You assumed Black women would march, organize, and sacrifice for your causes again. But this time, they've seen something differently. And by different, I mean those election results. And that's why they packed up and left the table. This time, Black women collectively have said they are standing down and standing by. Your last-minute apologies don't erase the fact that you told Black people collectively, and Black women specifically, to stay out of your struggle. And why did you do that? Oh, yeah, because all of your manipulation tactics on X wasn't working. All of your, oh, don't you care about the maimed and amputee arms of the babies that are dying in the street? When are you going to care? You certainly didn't care about the election results over here. Now you're shocked that Kamala Harris didn't win, and you're scrambling for Black support, just like folks did when Hillary Clinton lost in 2016. The problem is Black women have had enough. Black people collectively are prioritizing themselves. And let's not forget the selective allyship. Black women have marched for the Stop Asian Hate movement, for immigration reform, for LGBTQ rights and trans rights, and causes that had absolutely nothing to do with Black women in particular and Black people collectively. But where are the marches for Black women dying at childbirth at 3 times the rate, higher than white women? Where's the outrage for Black women being murdered every 5.5 hours in this country? Nowhere. Exactly. They see it, they have internalized it, and they are done pretending it's anything other than what it is. Performative solidarity. Let's talk about your selective courage. I'm about to call out the hypocrisy. Let's talk about DJ Khaled for a moment. Here's a man with a platform the size of Texas and the influence to move mountains, but what has he done for his own people? Nothing. He's silent. Yet you turn your outrage toward Kamala, someone who isn't a part, as if she held the keys to the Israel-Palestine conflict. Meanwhile, Khaled is out here doing what? Recording TikToks? If he spent half as much energy marching as he does shouting and another one over beats that just don't make sense, maybe something would have changed. I find it fascinating that the Uncommitted National Movement made every attempt to disrupt the Democratic National Convention and rallies around the country, but made no such attempt to do the same at Donald Trump rallies. I wonder why. Oh, there it is. Because MAGA would have beat the watermelon right on out your ass. But you know, it's starting to become very clear as to why Iran, Iraq, Syria, AIPAC, Egypt, no other Muslim country is supporting the Palestinians. Then, in other things that just don't make absolutely no sense. When you protest Trump in your safe spaces like Chicago and Michigan after the election. And now you want to garner support, you want to be all online with your kumbaya request, and it is denied. It's that the Black community, we've set all our responses to auto decline. You're going to have to get somebody else to do it. Now let's break down why Trump wants so much support from your community. Trump garnered significant support from Arab and Muslim voters for 3 main reasons. The number one reason, money talks. Many pro-Muslim groups align with Trump for financial incentives. You got paid off. Let's call a thing a thing. Let's call it what it is. Y'all sold out just like Jill Stein. Jill Stein stayed in this election long enough for that check to clear because she wasn't trusting Trump as far as making payments on time, okay? And after that check cleared, after the election results, she disappeared like a fart in the wind. Yes, she did. Just like Muslim group for Trump. For some reason, they think they got a wink and a nod from Trump when the person they need to be worried about is Stephen Miller and his band of bandits coming to knock on some doors and get y'all up out of here too, because when they're talking about immigrants, they are including you as well. Even people with refugee status, you're included. The number 2 reason is the uncommitted vote. In battleground states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, your uncommitted vote shifted the outcome. You chose self-interest over solidarity. But the third and final thing was cultural conservatism. Former General Michael Flynn, during the 2024 election cycle, engaged with Muslim communities, notably participating in events that address conservative social values, including anti-woman and anti-gay sentiments. In Hamtramck, Michigan, a city with a significant Muslim population, Flynn attended a town hall meeting hosted by Mayor Amr Ghalib. The discussion focused on concerns about LGBTQ content in schools and broader conservative issues. The cultural conservatism is really based on homophobia and misogyny in these communities. That's what played a major role. You couldn't stomach Kamala's alignment with LGBTQ plus rights or women's rights or reproductive rights, so you turned your backs. This had nothing to do with Palestine. If Palestine and Israel wasn't an issue, this was going to be the issue for you. But let me tell you two things. First and foremost, the LGBTQ community, those folks aren't playing with y'all anymore. They've armed themselves, organized, and have always been organized and ready to defend themselves. So keep that in mind the next time you think you can other them into silence. The second thing you need to understand is that you are a marginalized group. You don't have the right, but have the audacity to think that you can marginalize other marginalized groups. I don't know what you're thinking collectively in the Arab communities in this country, but you too will be getting deported. The moment you step out and protest during a Trump administration, it's real safe for you to do it right now with old Joe Biden. That's why you did it the day after the election. You can't lie and say, well, we protest because of who he picked Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee didn't come out as a cabinet appointee until earlier this week. The election was held nearly 3 weeks ago, and y'all were out in those streets protesting 2 days after. I want you to try that on after January 18th, 2025. I promise you, you're going to see a brand new circumstance, a brand new reality that may involve your repatriation back to your country of origin. I do believe the Trump administration already has deals set up with Syria as well as Rwanda for housing undocumented people who have no country to go to. So just keep that in mind. May your anti-LGBTQ processes and your anti-woman processes comfort you in Rwanda. But I digress. Now I would love to turn my attention to the Uncommitted National Movement and their blame game, the irony. It's the irony for me. After sabotaging Democratic prospects in key battleground states, handing Trump a victory on a silver platter, the Uncommitted National Movement is now on CNN trying to rewrite history. Abbas Al-Lawa, the co-founder of that movement, sat down to express deep concerns over the Biden administration's unwavering support for Israel's military actions in Gaza. Let me tell you, his energy in this interview was giving, we didn't think this through. Al-Lawa had the audacity to call out the administration for refusing to meet with Americans who have family members affected by the conflict, saying, if you're going to continue sending weapons aimed at our family members, say it to our face. He emphasized the need for an immediate ceasefire and re-evaluation of U.S. military aid to Israel. He urged fellow Democrats to pressure Vice President Harris to stop sending weapons if she ever becomes president. This was after the election, by the way. Bold words from someone whose movement actively worked against her election. That's why I'm asking, is it a crack at this point? Key highlights from the interview: he wants direct engagement, and that's all he's trying to get is access. He wants access just to be able to say he talked to the president of the United States. He wants a ceasefire. He has ceasefire demands. You're not in a position to demand anything right now. Let me be specific about the political betrayal. Al-Lawa accused the Democratic Party of betraying its progressive base by aligning too closely with pro-Israel policies. First and foremost, let me correct that, because these progressives love to claim that they're the base of the party. No, Black women have been the base of the party. It's the only reason why that party, the Democratic Party, survived after the 70s, when all the white people were going over to the Republican Party. But let's not act brand new here. Their movement, the Uncommitted Movement, knew what it was doing when it threw its weight behind Trump's rhetoric instead of strategizing a long-term game plan with Democrats. That's why they're scrambling right now. And now they have a plea for the future. Child, it don't look like you guys are going to be having a future. It led Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. Al-Lawa warned the Democratic Party, or he's warning, that failing to address these concerns could damage its support among Arab and Muslim voters. Let's rewind and check who actually supported who. First and foremost, let me just say this: 2025 is going to be the year of the deportations, and Arab and Muslim voters, you need to understand, you're on the menu too. Now, when it comes to the Latin community, I have mixed feelings about them, but I am certain about you. Y'all are getting up out of here. You can take your anti-Blackness and your homophobia and your anti-woman sentiments back to the country from which you came, because Mike Huckabee is trying to start the next religious war, the next crusades. And last I checked, you lost that crusade too. Okay, so I don't think you're going to fare well in the upcoming engagements with nuclear powers. So y'all need to go ahead and start packing up your little falafel machine and your little kebab machine. That's what you voted for. And you'll get no sympathy from me, but I digress. Let me continue on here. Breaking down who supported Palestine. I think this is key because the way these pro-Muslim groups that supported Trump try to make it seem like the Democrats have never supported them. I'm going to give you a breakdown real quick because we need receipts for all this talk about betrayal. Okay, it looks like the Muslim group, you betrayed the Democratic Party. Let's start with the Obama administration from 2009 to 2017. In 2010, the Obama administration allocated $400 million for economic development, infrastructure, and humanitarian aid in the West Bank of Gaza. In 2013, they contributed an additional $200 million to support the Palestinian Authority's budget and economic reform. So Barack Obama sent $600 million. Let's look at the first term of the Trump administration from 2017 to 2021. In 2018, he cut all funding to the United Nations Relief and Work Agency, UNRWA, that's in $60 annually, completely gutting vital programs for Palestinian refugees. This the man y'all just supported, right? I guess y'all need to be singing, what a friend we have in Allah right now. In 2019, look what else he did. He halted all U.S. aid projects in the West Bank and Gaza, cutting an additional $60 million. Barack Obama gave y'all $600 million, and Donald Trump, your new bestie, took $420 million back. He stopped it, halted it. Let's look at what the Biden administration did that you guys eviscerate so much, and he's a traitor, right? He betrayed the Palestinians. He betrayed the Muslims in America. The Biden administration from 2021 to present. In 2021, restored the $235 million in aid, including $150 million to UNRWA and $75 million for economic development. So he gave you more money. And in 2023, he announced $336 million in humanitarian assistance during escalation conflicts, bringing total U.S. aid to Palestinians to over $1 billion since October 2023. Talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face. Who betrayed who? So let me get this straight. The Obama and Biden administration pumped hundreds of millions of dollars into Palestinian aid, even amongst fierce opposition, but y'all still want to act like they've done nothing for your communities? Meanwhile, Trump gutted your funding, cut off critical lifeline, and you still threw your support in with him. Somebody grab a crystal ball because we already know what Trump's second term means for Palestinian support. Absolutely nothing. Trump's playbook is clear. He will double down on military aid to Israel, further cut humanitarian assistance, and ramp up policies that isolate Palestine. His track record shows he's not here for you, and no amount of hand-wringing on CNN will change that. But hey, y'all made your bed. You got to lie in it. But here's my final thoughts on the Uncommitted National Movement. It isn't just uncommitted. It's short-sighted. By alienating Democrats and enabling Trump, they set their communities back, and now they want to point fingers and demand accountability. Spare me the bullshit. You sabotage your own alliances, and now you're panicking because the reality of a Trump second term is staring you in the face. But guess what? This is not our lesson to learn. Okay, Black people, say it with me. This is not our lesson to learn. While you're scrambling to clean up the mess you made, Black folks are over here focusing on us because we know better than to fight battles for people who wouldn't do the same for us. So good luck with all of that, navigating Trump's America. To be honest with you, once that man takes the oath of office on January 18th, you won't have to worry about Trump America because given his timetable, he'll probably be deporting you around 2026. Okay, but yeah, good luck with all of that. You're going to need it. The reckoning. Let me be crystal clear. Black people aren't coming to save you. We aren't coming to march for you. As soon as I start hearing people talking about, oh, the dead baby bodies, I'm blocking you. Okay, it's complete apathy over here. That's what you voted for. And remember, on Twitter, you guys are quite clear telling us to stay out your business and talking about that we're jealous of you and our communities are a mess. And we agree. And we're going to focus on our community. That shouldn't really be a problem for you at this point. We've seen how this game works. It's all love and solidarity when you need us, but when it's time to show up for Black issues like police brutality, voter suppression, you disappear. No more. Black women are going into hibernation. Black people, we're going into stasis for the next 4 years, investing in ourselves and leaving everyone else to their own fights and battles. We wish you the best of luck. For any Black folks still out there cating for other groups without reciprocity, we're calling you out. We're going to be working to get you demonetized. We're holding you accountable because the status quo, Black people coming to everybody's defense, and then everybody pointing fingers at us or making fun of our communities is no longer what happens next in Trump's America. Let me remind you, because it got to be the crack at this point if Muslim people forgot about the Muslim ban from his last term. But carry on. Trump isn't just posturing. His policies are coming for you. Mass deportations, militarized borders, and revocation of refugee statuses and birthright. You thought you were safe? Think again. Trump will be rounding those protesters up and sending them to their countries of origin or countries like Rwanda, where they have a monetary agreement to hold groups like yours. He's coming for your families, your communities, and your livelihoods. And Black people will be watching from the sidelines, baby. Like I said before, standing back and standing down, okay? We don't want to get in the way of what you voted for. The final thought is the priorities for Black people, the prioritization of us, okay? Black people, hear me loud and clear. It's time to focus on us. Let's build for ourselves, invest in ourselves, support ourselves. If other groups want solidarity, they need to show up first. And if they don't, well, good luck in Trump's America. We wish you well. We'll be over here thriving, surviving, and reclaiming what's ours. Well, it looks like our time is up. I thank you for making the time to go through it to the end with me. Like, share, and subscribe, please, and thank you.